This video is sponsored by Noragon, the commercial vehicle data experts. Visit Noragon.com to learn more.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers of On the Road, I have an important announcement for you here at Fleet Equipment. We are going green! Hey, I'm getting word. It's actually not that easy as just declaring it. You have to put in a lot of work to help the environment in your business. Luckily today we're talking to Sunset Transportation, a business that has the recognition to prove it. They've been doing this for decades. Now we're going to learn what steps you should be taking if you want to help your business help the environment. Stick around. We want to welcome in Jill Gross, the Vice President of Strategic Accounts at Sunset Transportation, to On the Road. Jill, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. Now we want to jump into these questions, make sure you get you on your way. Sunset has been recognized as a G75 Green Supply Chain Partner for 3 years in a row now. And you've been a SmartWay partner since 2004. So what's driven the company to make sustainability such a consistent priority year over year?
Well, thank you. It's very exciting to be on that list for 3 years. Sustainability has been a core part of Sunset's operations. It's something that's very important to many of our customers. And I think that companies that really hold those positive values are the ones that you want to typically do business with. So by caring for our planet, we're also showing our employees that we care about them, that we care about the future. And it's been a business strategy that's worked for us for over 36 years now. Sunset, we live by our core values, and one of those is being accountable. So as an organization, we feel we're accountable to our stakeholders and to the world that we live in, and we want to make better decisions surrounding sustainability every day.
Sustainability is very important, and in business, so is the bottom line. So how do you measure ROI on sustainability efforts when some benefits are more long-term or indirect?
It's really tough to do that from a personal business on the logistics side of things, also for our customers. I'd say many of our shippers have started over the past few years really starting to look at strategies on how they measure emissions and really just starting to capture those. And I feel like that process is something that's month over month, year over year, you're starting to look at those metrics. There are some things though, from a logistics side of things that Sunset has done. Really basic things, when you talk about paper usage. Over the past 5 years, we've reduced paper usage by 98% by looking at our workflow billing processes, billing and invoicing, how our carrier is sending in invoices. We're setting them up with EDI and API, saves them time, saves them effort, and helps save a little bit of the planet. We also, moving into a new building, this isn't as measurable, but we've moved into a new building. We've put in energy efficient lighting. So when you have time, and it's in the roadmap of your company's plan, I think you can start to build some of those small pieces in. But it's definitely really challenging to measure, and you've got to start somewhere. So that's where for our customers, we've started looking at those emissions and really measuring them and working with them on different strategies to improve that.
When you're looking at supply chain strategies, there's route optimization, load consolidation, carrier selection, so many more. So for shippers and logistics team looking to reduce their environmental impact, where should they start?
So those are a lot of great places to start, but a lot of them aren't so straightforward, right? So when we think about load consolidation, for example, that's great. That can save time, that can save expense. But it takes a lot of planning, and that's something typically third-party logistics companies can help with. Like Sunset's got the technology and the tools to help support that. But you have to have, depending on the industry you're in, you've got to have the inventory that you're holding to be able to hold product, to ship out less frequently. The end customer has to be on board as well to say, I'm okay with receiving less frequent shipments, smaller quantities of product. I've got the receiving teams that can handle this. I've got the scheduling that can handle this. There's a lot of pieces that go into just that load consolidation. When we think about route optimization, again, another great strategy, but I think of that as something more long-term. when we work with our customers on their distribution footprint, and they're looking at different strategies for route optimization, they're looking at, where am I going to put my DCs in the future? What makes the most sense for my business? And there's so many factors that go into that. Whereas your end customer, what's the real estate look like in the area? I could sit here and name a list of 50 different items. I think it has to go into the overall business plan, which comes back to the financial piece as well. Like, does it make sense for your business? And can you layer in some of these benefits as well on the sustainability side to really help support both ends? Some of the other pieces, you brought up carrier selection as well. That's something that we look at too, and many of our customers have started to look at is, are there certain carriers that are performing these sustainability initiatives? And Sunset really captures those carriers to say, okay, maybe they're using newer equipment, they've got newer fleets, maybe they're SmartWay certified, Arbor certified, those different things. So we look at capturing those. And if our customers want to go in that direction, we can provide the carriers and that capacity too.
You mentioned financials, and this might be something that Sunset has learned over the decades of doing this. What are the most effective ways you can balance the cost of sustainability initiatives with your operational efficiency and profitability in general?
I think it has to be something that's twofold with your business. It can't just be solely a sustainability initiative unless your industry, dictates that. Certainly there's certain industries, automotive, that's very heavy into those sustainability initiatives. But I think you have to look for things that make sense, in multiple areas. For example, for Sunset, we use a carrier onboarding platform. It makes sure that our carriers have proper authority, insurance, contracts are signed off of, and it inputs them into our TMS. It's a great safety feature for Sunset, very important to our operations, but it also allows us to capture those carriers, like I mentioned, that maybe have newer fleets or are SmartWay certified. So we can capture that information too. So I think of that as kind of a twofold, two-part thing. It's beneficial to our business, and we can also layer in some of that sustainability initiatives piece there. So that's one example of that.
On the customer side of the equation, are more of them requesting environmentally responsible transportation solutions in the past few years? And how is that influencing your partnerships?
We definitely are seeing an increase in that. A lot of what I've seen the past couple of years is starting that measurement and starting to say, okay, a lot of customers have formed, or shippers have formed, committees or roles that say, we're focused on sustainability. How can you help us? And as a logistics company, we've looked at the data that we have. We've utilized SmartWay data to say, okay, we can at least start presenting you with emissions data. At Sunset, we've got a great team of analysts that are able to slice and dice a lot of that data and provide that back to our customers. I think that's mostly what I've seen the past couple of years, is that starting point of saying, we want to measure. We don't quite know how we're going to get there yet. And we want to talk about some of the things you mentioned before, route optimization, load consolidation. They want to start looking into some of those options. And then again, considering the financial impact. 5 years from now, if I open a new facility here, what does that look like for my supply chain? And that's where a logistics provider can really run a lot of those freight costs, expectations, and help work with shippers to help them understand on the transportation and supply chain side of things, what could be your cost impacts, what are your different route options, and what are your different lines of service that can be used as well. Can we consolidate LTLs to truckload? Can we have multiple customers, combined on a truckload? Lots of different options there. But I have seen also an increase in customers requiring maybe a certain age of a fleet or a certain age of trailer. And we're starting to, as we capture that, see a bit more of that increasing.
On the business side of that, what advice would you have for someone, a supply chain manager, logistic leader, who want to start building or expanding on their sustainability program in partnership with a third-party logistics or carrier network?
So I think if that's something that's identified within your company as a priority, a good place to start would be identifying, someone or a committee to help start supporting that. I think when you put some legs around, we've got a sustainability committee, we're serious about this, and that committee can really start looking into these different options. Because like we've talked about, there's a lot of different routes that you can go, a lot of different ways to approach this, and you're not in a silo of going down one of those routes. Over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, a lot of these strategies are going to evolve. And I think putting around someone that says, hey, I'm focused on this, I'm going to start measuring this, that's a really great place to start. And logistics companies like Sunset, we've got the technology, the resources and the experience to help guide those efforts for our shippers. So I think partnering with a logistics company as well can help for the near and long term to help determine some of that.
Any comments you want to leave our viewers with on that evolving future of sustainable efforts?
It changes daily. I think it continues. It's the world we live in. It is very important to all of us. And I think, a lot in the logistics and supply chain area are starting to really see the importance of it and looking for new and creative solutions to help make the world a better place. So I'm in full support of it and excited to see what the future holds for sustainability.
All right, Jill Gross with Sunset Transportation, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you here.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of our Fleet Equipment subscribers for watching. We'll see you next time.